All right, let's just jump right in. We've all heard it, and I bet we've all wondered about it. Can mastering one skill really, truly make you better at something completely different? It's a question that gets to the very heart of why we even bother to learn things. I mean, think about it. Does all that time you spend hunched over a chessboard actually translate to being a shark in the boardroom? Does learning to play the piano somehow secretly boost your algebra grades? These are really popular ideas, but what does the science actually have to say about this? So, to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to talk about a core idea in psychology called the transfer of learning. And it turns out not all transfer is created equal. Nope. Researchers basically split it into two big buckets: near transfer and far transfer. Now, the difference here is actually pretty simple. Near transfer, that's the easy one. Once you learn how to tie one shoelace, you can pretty much tie any shoelace. The situation is almost identical. But far transfer, yeah, that's a whole different ballgame. That's like taking what you know about how wind moves through a windmill and using that knowledge to sail a boat. The situations look totally different, but the deep down principle is the same. So, to put an official label on it, far transfer is our ability to take what we've learned and apply it in a new and often completely unrelated situation. This is the big one. This is the kind of learning that we hope will break out of the classroom and help us in the real world. And that promise, well, that's exactly why everybody, from researchers to teachers to, us, is so obsessed with it. Far transfer isn't just some weird psychological quirk. It's basically seen as the holy grail of education. The goal here is actually pretty profound. It's not about being able to spit back facts for a test. It's about building a mind that can see hidden connections, solve brand new problems, and just adapt to whatever life throws at you. It's the difference between knowing a routine and being a true, adaptable expert. This quote from the educator Grant Wiggins just nails it. The real test of your education isn't the final exam, it's whether you can take what you learned inside those four walls and actually use it out in the messy, unpredictable real world. And hey, if we could master this, the benefits would be huge. We're not just talking about being a better student. We're talking about building the skills that really matter. Being adaptable, thinking critically, and making good calls when you're facing something you've never seen before. It's the ultimate toolkit for life, really. But, and this is a big but, here's where our story takes a really sharp turn. Because for as long as people have been hoping for far transfer, there's been this powerful, scientifically backed argument that it might just be a pipe dream. Let's start with this number. Just look at it. A major review of studies found that just 1 year after a training program, people have forgotten, get this, over 90% of what they learned if they haven't been practicing it. Now think about that. If we can't even hold on to skills in their own domain, how on earth are we supposed to transfer them somewhere else? And this pessimistic view? It's not new. Way back in 1993, a researcher named D.L. Detterman looked at the evidence and basically said, look, significant transfer is incredibly rare. He argued that most of what we call education is just learning specific facts, not developing some kind of general, superpowered thinking skills. And the modern evidence? Oh, it gets even more brutal. When scientists did a massive review of all the other studies on this, they came to a pretty shocking conclusion. Once you filter out all the noise, like studies that only get published if they have positive results or placebo effects, the evidence for far transfer just evaporates. It drops to basically zero. So what is going on? Is it all just a myth? Is the whole point of education a lost cause? Well, not exactly. The answer, it turns out, is a lot more interesting. We don't have to toss the idea out completely, but we do have to get a little smarter about what we mean by far. This is the crucial question, isn't it? Based on what we just saw, it's really tempting to just say, yep, it's a myth, moving on. But the story isn't over yet. Let's peel back another layer here. The key insight is this. The reason the research looks so contradictory is because we've been using a really simple, almost childish idea of distance. We've been thinking about it as a straight line from near to far, when the reality is so much more complex. To sort this all out, researchers came up with a much more detailed way to classify transfer. And what it shows is that distance isn't a single line. It's more like a multi-dimensional map with a bunch of different factors we have to consider. So this framework shows that a transfer can be far in a lot of different ways. I mean, think about the knowledge domain itself. Is it a small hop from biology to botany, or is it a huge leap over to economics? What about the physical place? Learning something at school and using it at home is a bigger jump than just using it in another classroom. Time, function, whether you're alone or in a group, each one of these is its own measure of distance. So here it is, the crucial point. Those disappointing studies make total sense now because they were looking for an event that is almost statistically impossible. They were looking for a transfer that was far across many of these dimensions at the same time. Taking something from a science class and using it in a social situation years later, that's a massive jump across domain, time, and context. It's no wonder we hardly ever see it happen. Okay, so this gives us a whole new way of looking at the problem. If transfer isn't automatic, but it's also not impossible, then how do we actually make it happen? How do we train ourselves to bridge all those gaps? And this brings us to what I think is the most powerful idea of all. Far transfer isn't some magical bonus prize you get for learning something new. It doesn't just happen. It's a skill that can and must be trained on purpose. To get how to train it, we can use this low-road/high road model. Low-road transfer is the reflexive, automatic stuff, like driving a different car. You just do it. It's all about learning the how. But high-road transfer, that's mindful. It's deliberate. It forces you to actively search for connections. And it's all about learning the why. So how do we travel this high road? Well, it's basically a 3-step process. Let's say you learn some negotiation tactic in a business class. Step 1, you consciously pull out the general principle, which might be something like find the common ground. Step 2, you deliberately look for other places to use that idea. You might think, maybe this could work with that argument I'm having with my roommate about the dishes. Step 3, you adapt and apply it, tweaking your approach for that more personal, informal situation. And that ultimately is the real takeaway here. The goal of learning shouldn't just be to know how to do something. It should be to understand why it works, because that deep understanding is what gives you the power to break free from the original context and develop true adaptive expertise. I want to leave you with this thought from E.M. Forster because it just gets to the very heart of this. Spoon feeding in the long run teaches us nothing but the shape of the spoon. If we're only ever taught the steps, we only learn the steps. But if we learn the why, the underlying principles, we give ourselves the tools to solve problems we've never even seen before. And at the end of the day, isn't that the whole point of learning in the first place?